I'm back with part 12.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no...
Hello everyone and welcome back to Pitch This here on the MrEliMac YouTube channel. I'm your host, MrEliMac, and we are on part 12 of the fan casting series, starting phase 4, and this will be the last phase that I talk about and I give my fan casting for. And for phase 4, the way it's starting is with the TV shows, because the MCU, when phase 4 started, it was with the TV shows, WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I'm going to be talking about their analogs, which is Meet the Martians and Nightwing and Batgirl. Something that I really enjoy is doing these things and like these analogs, and I really do feel like Meet the Martians and Nightwing and Batgirl are two of the more original ideas that I have, but they're also based off of, well, Nightwing and Batgirl particularly are based off of ideas from the comics. But with that little preamble out of the way, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way you can be up to date with all the videos I have here on the channel. Also hit the notification bell. That way you can be notified whenever a new video like this comes your way. And so we're going to start out with Meet the Martians, which is the TV show about Martian Manhunter and sitcom style, similar to WandaVision, how it's sort of a 50s sitcom with sort of going off of the connection of the Martian Manhunter debuting in the 50s in the comics, and so we're just having that be the continuation. And so let's get into, well, Martian Manhunters in the show. Idris Elba is very much the main character of the show, and another character that is going to be a character from a prior thing is Etta Candy, Tamala Jones. She is returning in this show. First time we've seen her since, I want to say, Wonder Woman the Underworld. That this will be the first time we see her in a long time, so we're getting the reintroduction of her character. But let's talk about some of the new characters in the show, and the first character is Mariah Jones, aka Mariah Jones, who is the wife of Martian Manhunter John Jones, and a character that would have been referenced throughout the universe and throughout phases 1, 2, and 3. But this is the first time we're actually going to be seeing her. And for Mariah Jones, I am casting Taraji P. Henson. Taraji P. Henson is an actress I love very much. I think she is a fantastic actress. I feel like she's fantastic in everything she does. And I think she would do a really great job as this character, sort of being the connection that John and Martian Manhunter has been wanting and needing throughout this time, and sort of being a physical embodiment. Like, a majority of the stuff that's happening is happening in Martian Manhunter's mind. Like, the entire sitcom aesthetic, everything that is happening, it is a mental exercise, not a mental exercise, but stuff that is happening in the mind of Martian Manhunter. And it's also, the show is also introducing the concept of Martian magic, and Mariah Jones is a physical embodiment of that coming to life. And I think Taraji P. Henson would do a really great job playing a character where it's like, hey, we're not really here, but I'm here, but also at the same time, once I discover that I'm not real, I just gotta start talking to Jean and basically being like, hey, you have to fully let us go. And that's sort of the character that she's going to be playing, and very much a character of, like, she will have her moments of strength and being a superheroic character in her own right, but also it's very much a character of like, hey, I understand why I'm here, but you have to let me go. And yeah, I think Taraji P. Henson would do a really great job in that role. So Taraji P. Henson as Mariah Jones. Next up is Kim Jones, or Kim Jones, and she is the daughter of Martian Manhunter John Jones. And for Kim Jones, I cast Jasmine Savoy Brown. And in my mind, when I was casting for this role in particular, I was casting an actress that would have aged up with the role, and so sort of where we would have seen her all the way back in 2008, we're in 2021 now, or 2024 in the setting. And so, no, it would have still been 2021, but sort of we would see like the age progression of the character. And so Jasmine Savoy Brown and her age is sort of, oh, this is how old Kim would have been if she survived. And she's also serving the role of like, hey, emotional connection, trying to bring Jean back to some sort of sanity because he's slowly losing his mind in this sort of world, 1950s sitcom world, and she's someone that's keeping him level, but also like once she discovers she's not real, sort of a similar character arc as Mariah Jones, is being like, hey dad, we're not real and we understand what you're trying to do, but we can't have this continue on, and so we're just trying to bring you back to sanity. And I think that Jasmine Savoy Brown would do a really great job. Jasmine Savoy Brown, not unacquainted with the comic book genre. She was in the Spider-Man Miles Morales video game as the Tinkerer, and I think she would do a really great job playing this type of character. So Jasmine Savoy Brown as Kim Jones. Next up is another character that would mainly be a representation of Martian Manhunter's mind, but mainly a representation of his failure, and that is Dr. Saul Erdel. And Dr. Saul Erdel is a character that was the first person that John Jones saw. He's the first human that he saw, but unfortunately when they first saw each other, Dr. Erdel died. He died of a heart attack seeing a Martian for the first time, and like he died of shock because he didn't think anything would actually happen. And so Dr. Saul Erdel would be someone that in the 50s universe is someone that is sort of a mentor figure of Jean, and as Jean is sort of like in this 50s sitcom world a police detective, and Dr. Erdel is sort of a mentor figure, like, hey, I remember when you were a kid, and look, everything is great now. And that's sort of the character that Saul Erdel would play, but also, again, with the idea of like, oh, this all isn't real. And that's when we would get more of the stuff and more of the nuance of that. And for Dr. Erdel, I cast Henry Winkler. I love Henry Winkler as an actor. I think Henry Winkler is a phenomenal actor. I love seeing him whenever I saw him. I grew up watching Happy Days, the reruns of Happy Days, and I loved him as the Fonz. And as I grew older, like just seeing him as an actor, just always like, man, you're great. I love seeing you. And I think Henry Winkler could do a really great job as Dr. Erdel and adding a lot of depth to the character, being in that 50s sitcom realm where that was sort of when he became popular. Mainly now he became popular in the 70s sitcom Happy Days, but the show was set in the 50s, so being able to connect that together, I think he would do a really great job in this role. So Henry Winkler is my Dr. Saul Erdel. Next up is one of the first characters that would exist outside of the mental world and also exists in the mental world, and that is Megan Morse, or Megan Moores, or Martian, or Miss Martian. And Miss Martian would be one of the characters that would be trying to help Jean get out of this mental world that he created for himself, as he's going through a lot of trauma in his life right now. And she would be the character that goes into it, and she's one of the first characters that really dives into his psychological world. And she's one of the characters that when she's in that world, he doesn't recognize her, but she fits in the role of, hey, I'm the niece, I'm the one that still lives in the house, I live with my uncle and my cousin and my aunt. And so that's sort of the role she would play in the 50s sitcom world, while also playing a character of like, hey, I'm trying to help you get out of here, and I need you to listen to me and get out. And for Miss Martian, I cast Kiki Lane. Kiki Lane is a great actress. Now, the first time I've ever saw her in anything was Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, the live-action film, and I thought she did a really great job in that. I feel like she had a lot of earnestness and a lot of heart in that role, and I think she would bring that type of heart to Miss Martian, being someone that is noticing this evil that is happening in Martian Manhunter's mind and trying to help like clear the evil and darkness from his mind and trying to bring him back to the light. And I think Kiki Lane would do a really great job playing the depth and the heart and earnestness in that role. So Kiki Lane is Miss Martian. Next up, because I mentioned there was sort of Martian magic in this universe and in this show, I wanted to introduce a magic character in the show, and I wanted to introduce a magic character that would actually have been in my Netflix universe. I'm not going to tell you the cast of my Netflix universe. Some of those will be revealed as Phase 4 goes on, but this is sort of the first one where it's like, hey, this is a character from the Netflix shows and putting them into this world. And that character is Rachel Roth, aka Raven. Raven would be introduced as trying to help with the magic, with the magical elements in this, very much trying to learn more about the Martian magic that is being used in this show and trying to find a way to counteract the Martian magic, and maybe using her little dark magic powers to try to counteract the other dark magic powers that are being used in this little world. And for Raven, I cast Thaisa Farmiga. I did stumble saying her last name, but I was able to say it. And the reason why I cast Thaisa Farmiga is because she already played Raven in the animated movies, and I think she did a really great job being the voice of Raven. I think she very much had a good cadence as Raven, and I think she did a very great job getting the weight of Raven's voice in those animated films, and I think she would do a really great job as well in the live action realm. She's already proven that she can play in dark shows such as American Horror Story, and I think she could do a really great job carrying that sort of dark role as Raven, and I think she could do a really great job as this character, bringing the depth and the nuance that is very much needed for Raven, and I just think she would do a great job. And so Thaisa Farmiga is my Raven. Next up is Daryl Wessel, who would be a character on the outside trying to help out Etta Candy and Raven from the outside. And Daryl Wessel in the comics is an alternate personality that Martian Manhunter created. I'm not going to connect those. I'm just having Daryl Wessel be a character on the outside that's just trying to help. And for Daryl Wessel, I cast Charles Michael Davis, best known for the originals and Vampire Diaries, best known for those shows. And I think he's a really good actor. I think he did a really good job in those shows. And I think because he's had to play sort of complex characters, I think he could do a really great job playing a character like Daryl Wessel, someone that is feeling conflicted of trying to having to help out in this way, but also getting orders from an alternate people that are in control outside of Etta Candy, and trying to make both of those masters happy, for lack of a better term, in Etta Candy and the person on the outside. And I think that Charles Michael Davis could do a really great job as Daryl Wessel, being conflicted but then ultimately doing the right thing. And I just think he'd do a great job. So Charles Michael Davis as Daryl Wessel. And now for the main antagonist of the show, for Meet the Martians. And it is someone who is sort of responsible for the Martian magic while also not responsible at the same time. He's sort of responsible for the early doses of Martian magic, whereas Martian Manhunter starts taking all of it and starts creating more and more darkness, but this is the person that introduced the darkness. And for the main antagonist, it is Malachi Jones, aka Malva-Ak, the twin brother of Martian Manhunter, or in my universe, just the brother of Martian Manhunter. And for Malva-Ak, I cast Chiwetel Ejiofor. Chiwetel Ejiofor has been an actor I've been wanting to find a place in this universe, and so when I saw that I was going to introduce Malva-Ak in the show, I was like, of course, I'm going to cast Chiwetel Ejiofor as the brother of Idris Elba, because I think those two could play off each other very well. Chiwetel Ejiofor being able to play sort of a darker version of Martian Manhunter, and being able to play up with the evil side of what it means to be a Martian, and sort of being everything that Martian Manhunter never wanted to be. Martian Manhunter very much wanted to be a heroic character. He never wanted to lean into the evil stereotypes of being what it is to be a Martian on Earth, whereas Malva-Ak is very much the opposite. And I think Chiwetel Ejiofor could do that while also adding extra depth and nuance to the character of Malva-Ak, and also giving explanations to, oh, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. You created this world inside of your mind to give yourself some reprieve, some peace. I'm inserting myself into this world, in making it chaotic. I'm making it worse for you. And I think that Chiwetel Ejiofor could do a really great job playing Malava Ak. So Chiwetel Ejiofor is my Malava Ak. And now we move on to Nightwing and Batgirl, my Falcon and the Winter Soldier analog, Nightwing and Batgirl. I know a lot of other people would have probably done Nightwing and Red Hood because a lot of people compare Red Hood to Winter Soldier, but I'm not doing that because this story is very much based off of Battle for the Cowl and Under the Red Hood, because I'm bringing in Red Hood into the story. Also, this Jane Levy returning as Batgirl, Logan Lerman returning as Nightwing, while also taking the mantle of Batman by the end of the story, because that's sort of what we set up in Justice League Rebirth, is in the end of that story, Logan Lerman would become Batman, and this is sort of the continuation of that story where he officially becomes Batman. But we would also get the return of Cameron Moynihan as Jason Todd, where he gets first introduced and he is wearing the Batman costume or variation of the Batman costume, and then ultimately he would no longer wear that because Nightwing, Batgirl, and Jason would be fighting each other a lot, and he would ultimately become Red Hood. Cameron Moynihan would be Red Hood in this story. He's sort of the one I look at as my US agent analog, and I think he just fits in that position. And whenever I see people do Nightwing and Red Hood, I'm like, you're missing an opportunity with making Red Hood US agent. And I think that works. I know probably a lot of other people just use Azrael in that position, but I think Red Hood plays in that position better because then you get a more closer conflict to the characters instead of, oh, I'm Azrael, I'm a character that you don't know, hi there, I'm Batman now. But in this version with Jason Todd trying to become Batman and Logan Lerman saying, no, you can't be Batman, and then Jason Todd becoming Red Hood, you get a closer conflict and a more emotional conflict than just having it be Nightwing and Red Hood versus Azrael. That's just my opinion on the story. But anyway, moving on to the other fan casting. Also, a character that would appear in one episode, sort of like how Don Cheadle appeared in an episode, would be Wally West. Jesse McCartney would be, and those two would have a connection because there would be friends. Like, I would have a moment in that scene where it's just, hey, they're friends with each other. And they've been friends for a while because they're close in age with each other. And that's just the connection they have. Also, another character that have been introduced prior that we would see here is Donna Troy. Olivia Cook would be in it as well for an episode, again having a similar thing of, hey, Nightwing, we're friends, and Batgirl, we're friends, and so look, if you need help, just ask. Sort of like how Io from the Dora Milaje, Io, appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She would sort of serve that purpose of like, hey, you're getting close to where my territory normally is, and so if you, like, be careful, but just, hey, if you need any help, just ask. And so that would be an interaction that I would have with them. But for the other characters, finally getting to the new characters that would be introduced. And the first one is sort of the character that is sort of learning who learned who Batman is, and the character who learned who Nightwing is, like who Jason Todd is, all those characters. It's Tim Drake. I'm just saying Tim Drake, it gets introduced in this thing, and I would start setting up Tim Drake as like the Robin of Nightwing. And the reason why I would do that instead of having it be Damian is because I think Nightwing is like, hey, I am Batman, but I'm not Detective Batman. And Tim Drake has always been, oh, I'm Detective Robin. And so you have those different dichotomies for me. And I think Tim Drake would do a really great job being sort of introducing him to be the Robin to Dick Grayson's Batman. And for Tim Drake, I cast Asher Angel. Asher Angel, best known for playing Billy Batson. I think he's a really great actor. I think in those movies, he has more depth to Billy Batson than Zachary Levi, and I think that he could add a lot of depth to Tim Drake. I think he could do a really great job in that role, and I just think he'd do great. So Asher Angel is Tim Drake. Next up, another supporting character who would be introduced in this film is Leslie Tompkins. Leslie Tompkins would sort of serve as like, hey, Dick and Barbara, you saw what happened to Bruce. I really don't want this to happen to you as well, but if you're going to do this, you're going to do it. And sort of serving as like, hey, here's some history lessons that Alfred and Bruce never told you, and sort of tell sort of the darker side of what being Batman means. And I think Leslie Tompkins is a good character introduced in that period of time. And so for Leslie Tompkins, I cast Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver is a fantastic actress. I don't need to describe what type of actress she is. I think she would do a really great job as Leslie Tompkins, being able to carry that weight and sort of be like, hey, don't go overboard with this like Bruce did. And I just think Sigourney Weaver is a great actress, and I think she would do great in this role. So Sigourney Weaver is Leslie Tompkins. Next up, we're getting into some villain territories, but by villain territories, I mean there are more allied characters. Like this character I'm about to mention is more of like playing the Baron Zemo role, and that character is Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, our introduction to Two-Face in this universe. And the reason why he's playing the Baron Zemo role is because he's someone that is trying to help stop the big bad, and the big bad is someone, I'll tell you who it is later, but he's someone that's trying to help stop him. And because of the connection in the comic specifically that Dick Grayson has with Two-Face, I just thought it would be fun to have Two-Face be that character and sort of have mentions of like, this is sort of their relationship off screen, and I'd even have flashbacks to what Two-Face and Dick Grayson were like, and when Dick Grayson was Robin and Two-Face was out and about. And for Two-Face, I cast Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor is a great actor, in my opinion. Ewan McGregor was the highlight of the prequel trilogy in Star Wars, and he was a highlight in Birds of Prey. I loved him as Black Mask in that film, and I'm just bringing him here to this playing Two-Face because he is someone that you look at and you're like, oh, hey, he's good looking, but at the same time, he can be crazy. We've proven that, and I just think he would do a great job as Two-Face, and I think Ewan McGregor could add a lot of extra dimensions than the 2 dimensions that Two-Face has. Pun. So yeah, I think Ewan McGregor to do a great job. So Ewan McGregor is my Two-Face. Next up is a character that would appear in one episode because of reasons, and that is Talia al Ghul. She would be someone that would be sending condolences to Dick Grayson, but also mentioning like some stuff that would be set up for a future Batman movie, but also deal with extra things that are happening that Bruce never knew about. Damian, to be specific, but Damian wouldn't be old enough to be Robin. He is still a baby. And when I was casting Talia al Ghul, I was finding it very hard to cast an actress that was around the same age as Richard Armitage, but then I remembered like, oh, Talia al Ghul is probably going into the Lazarus Pit a lot. And because I came up with the idea that she was in the Lazarus Pit a lot, I started thinking, oh, she'd look a little bit younger than Richard Armitage. And so for Talia al Ghul, I cast Sofia Boutella. She is a fantastic actress. I really enjoy Sofia Boutella whenever I see her in something. Even if it's something that's bad, she's usually the shining light in it, like The Mummy with Tom Cruise. She is really good in it. And I think she would do a really great job carrying the elegance of Talia al Ghul, carrying herself with a sense of regalness, and then coming around to Dick Grayson being like, hey, you're not Batman, but it's okay because you're the heir apparent. But I'm gonna let you know, there's some stuff that the League of Assassins and the League of Shadows are working on, and I just wanted to let you know. That way, when that stuff hits the fan, you're prepared. Because we don't care if you're Batman or if Bruce was Batman. We don't care. We're gonna sack Gotham. And Dick Grayson's like, go ahead and try. I'm gonna stop you. And yeah, we start setting up stuff for the future. And yeah, I think Sofia Boutella could do a really great job carrying that weight of Talia and carrying that sort of menace that Talia might have. So Sofia Boutella is my Talia al Ghul. And now we go over to the main antagonist of Nightwing and Batgirl. And for the main antagonist, I want it to be someone that is a big Batman villain, but also a big enough Batman villain that it could seem like a good first challenge for Dick Grayson as Batman. And for that character, it is Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow. I think Scarecrow is a big enough Batman villain that could serve as the main antagonist for a season of television. I mean, Titans did it, so why not? And I'm not making it that version. But also, I think he is a small enough Batman villain to where it's a good first threat for Nightwing. And look, I did all this before I realized what Titans was doing. So this was already a plan before Titans Season 3 or whatever the season that Scarecrow was around as the main antagonist. But for Scarecrow, I cast Ethan Hawke. I think Ethan Hawke is a fantastic actor, and he's someone that could carry himself as a former professor, but also whenever it comes to a point of, hey, this is evil, this is scare, it's Scarecrow. And I think that Ethan Hawke could do a really great job as Scarecrow, adding nuance and depth, and then being able to not be afraid of going super crazy. I think Ethan Hawke would be willing to go crazy for Scarecrow, and I just think Ethan Hawke would do a great job. So Ethan Hawke is my Scarecrow. And I didn't mention two characters specifically because these are two characters that would be important to the future. And the first character that would be important for the future is Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot. Deadshot would be a character that would only appear in one episode, being as like, oh, this is a villain that is fighting Nightwing for a paycheck and like a mercenary. But Jason Todd would beat him down, but Dick Grayson would save him, making sure Deadshot doesn't get killed because Jason Todd is killing some villains. And so for Deadshot, I cast Aldis Hodge. Aldis Hodge is a great actor. He's an actor that I want to cast in other stuff as well. And I think Aldis Hodge would do a really great job as Deadshot. So Aldis Hodge is my Deadshot. And the other character, because I mentioned Deadshot, so you could sort of get an idea of what I'm going with next, is Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller is very much my Valentina Allegra de Fontaine character, like setting up stuff for the future. And if you don't realize what I'm doing when I say Deadshot and Amanda Waller, I don't know how else to say it. But Amanda Waller would be played by Viola Davis. I'm not changing that. Viola Davis is proving that she's basically the definitive Amanda Waller at this point in terms of live action. And I want to keep Viola Davis as Amanda Waller because she's great. I love her as Amanda Waller. Everyone knows how great she is. So yeah, Viola Davis is my Amanda Waller, setting up something big, a movie for the future. And yeah, that is my fan casting for Meet the Martians and Nightwing and Batgirl. What were your thoughts on the fan castings? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Were you indifferent to them? Whatever your thoughts, post them in the comments down below. And again, thank you all so much for watching this series. Trust me, Phase 4 is the final phase. And after Phase 4, I will go back to the normal pitch this schedule of actually pitching ideas. I still have the list of requests from multiple comment sections, and again, I promise I will get back to those in the future. But until then, I've been Mr. EliMac, you've been the audience, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day.